we're at low importance. So training frequency, and obviously this isn't saying that it's not important. I think it's important to clarify that. And it's not like training frequency doesn't matter, but just in terms of the way that you've ranked it, this is where it sits. But it was interesting where you said training once or twice per week is enough. But, obviously, and I'm a kind of believer in this, that the bro split, training once per week, isn't really enough. Or maybe it's enough, but it could be better. So I was interested to hear, why you said potentially once is enough throughout the week.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you look at the data, training more often than that is better. But the percentage difference is quite small. It's like, I don't know, I think in one study it's like 6% better or something like that. Now, for a lot of people, that's worth just splitting up your workouts. And I think for a lot of people these days, it's probably more enjoyable. I mean, I'm personally not that inclined to go in and do like one massive day on a body part. I'd rather split up the volume and have my performance be better on that, and it just feels mentally easier. But I also think that like people discount that stuff way too fast. And the reason I kind of put training frequency in low importance as a bit of rage bait, because the question
I'm rage baited.
Probably I got him. The question I get the most, it seems, or one of the biggest questions I get is about training splits, and I honestly think it matters so much less than all the other stuff we've spoken about. If you're covering off the rest of the stuff we've spoken about, the training split just doesn't matter that much. And it also can be as simple as just spread out your training volume so that you can perform well. Like there's no magic training split. There's no like push-pull legs is better than upper-lower or anything like that. It is 100% dependent on just splitting it up so that you can perform well on each set. That's it. And so it fits in your schedule. That's it. Which means that literally any training split could work, like equally well. So I get really frustrated because people get so hung up on like what training split they should use, and I really don't think it matters that much.
It's such a common question. I get it too. Like even sorry to jump in, but like a week ago, someone shouted out the window of their car, like, "What's your split, bro?" Like as a joke. But like, I thought it was really funny. But like, it just goes to show like what people are thinking. Like they really do think it's like, yeah, man, you got to do like PPL or else you're just wasting your time.
Yeah, it's today's version of like, oh, how much you bench pro? It's like, well, it doesn't really matter. But
and the split doesn't matter
but
too.
I think also it's come back into the sort of public mind because of some of the people out there saying that you should do very low set volume per session, and that getting as many, fresh first sets as possible throughout the week is the best way to go. And therefore, if you were only even doing 5 sets per week, you should split that over like 3 to 5 days, which to me is ridiculous.
So one set a day. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But there are people out there who are like really advocating for it because they're like, well, a fresh set is your most stimulative. Therefore,
and then it drops off, and then every set gets
Therefore, you should have as many fresh sets as possible. And there's some logic to that, because if you get up to a certain, like, you're going to get fatigued at some point, and your performance is going to drop off a cliff. But that threshold is like much higher than 1 to 2 sets in a session. So I think that's kind of emerged from that, and I'm starting to get more questions around that. And generally speaking, at a reasonable volume level, splitting your training over like 2 days, like the volume for each muscle group over 2 days in a week, is going to fit like probably 90% of cases. If you're doing much higher volume, you may need a third day. If you have a particular preference, you may want a third day. If you do low to moderate volume, you can get away with a bro split, no problem. It might be like marginally better to do it on 2 days, but like probably not worth worrying about if a bro split fits your preference or your schedule better. That's basically what it comes down to in my head.
Yeah, I think people just love to latch onto a label because it's so much easier to... They go, oh, that's it. Because in the real world, no one's really going to sit down and go, okay, what muscle groups do I want to grow? How much sets should I allocate to them? Like, it's a 5-minute exercise. Like, it really doesn't take long, but it's kind of just like how people don't want to sit down and budget. They don't want to go, oh, okay, I'm spending this much, where that's a 5-minute exercise too, potentially. And then they can get much better gains just from from looking at that. The financial gains will be massive, just like the physical gains will be massive if they sit down and go, okay, well, how many sets am I actually doing of chest? Okay, let's divvy that up. So I guess, like, I know you said you don't prefer splits, but like, what do you usually find yourself kind of like falling into? Because, like, for example, some things that I program quite often, and they aren't very conventional. Like, some are just, okay, you're training 4 days, upper lower kind of makes sense, right? Yep. But like, for example, a client comes to mind because I spent all day writing programs today for people that kick off on Monday. I train a guy that trains 4 days per week, but he wants more of a slight focus on upper body. So he has like a upper lower, upper full body workout. Like, that's not a cool label. Like, what do you call that? You know?
Yeah, totally, totally.
To upper lower full body, because on that full body day we're doing legs too, but we're also getting in some of that extra volume of lateral raises and arms because he wants it's summer over in Canada and he wants to get his guns out. So, like, what have you found yourself kind of like writing, not to give people labels of like, oh yes, it's push-pull legs, but like, are there some things that you commonly write?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. Like, if someone's training 3 days a week, generally speaking, they're going to be kind of like full body days for me. Like, most of the time, their volume's just going to fall that way. So we just kind of do 3 full body. If it's 4 days a week, then I agree. Upper lower makes a ton of sense. It generally fits people pretty well. If they want equal volume on most of their muscle groups, then like, sweet. That's just a really nice, easy default to go to. So I do fall into those as well. What I would say to people is, like, if you just want a default to kind of just get stuff down on paper, that's going to kind of make sense, then definitely just go for those where it's like upper, lower, or push-pull legs or whatever. But then look at the program that you have on paper and just kind of mentally walk through it and go, oh, actually, this upper body day, like, I actually need to do a lot more upper body work than lower body work, as an example. I run into this quite a lot. If you do a lower body day and someone just kind of wants to do like a reasonable amount of volume to get their lower body going, it's like you can do a few sets of squats, a few sets of some sort of hinge, and then a bit of like extra isolations, and like that's done. But for upper body, there's like vertical pushing and pulling, there's horizontal pushing and pulling, there's isolated stuff on your shoulders, on your arms. Like, there's a lot more that can be fit in. So sometimes the upper body days end up being much longer than the lower body days. And you might just look at that and go, oh, cool. Well, okay, if I just like drag over some lateral raises to my lower body day, as you just mentioned, then the days end up being similarly long and it's actually more convenient for me. And then, okay, that's a lower body day with some random upper body stuff thrown on it. And mentally we kind of go, no, it's supposed to be lower body, but it doesn't matter.
It's a full body day. Oh, no.
Yeah. So that's what I would recommend people doing. And like, I do that quite a lot where, as you say, a client has, I just wrote for a client as well, she wants to improve her back. So, okay, so we have a lot more back volume, but how are we going to split that out over the week? Well, I'm going to be putting some back stuff on her leg days or whatever, like it's just how it's going to work out to fit the volume in a reasonable way.
Yeah, it's just thinking a bit more outside the box. And for us, obviously, it's not really thinking outside the box, but for people that just have ideas of just certain workouts that they have to do, it does feel weird at first, doing like, I have a lady as well that's training 3 times a week, and, on one of her lower days, she's doing rows and lateral raises before she leaves the gym. It's just like a couple of sets, but it's more so just like a top up of volume that's not enough to be like, oh man, I just trained legs, I'm like too sore. It's just enough to be like, all right, that ticks a box. I'm not going to be that sore from it. It's only 2 sets each, and then that adds to the total volume over the week.